Most family issues don't arise because of some big issue or huge problem. They arise because of small misunderstandings that pile up.
Yeah, 100%.
And so clear communication can build those bridges, or they can put up walls.
Yes.
In short.
Yep. Welcome to the Snyder Family Podcast, where we believe strong families create strong communities. So, we elevate the truth to encourage you, the family. I'm Doug Snyder. This is my son Sam, and today we're talking about the power of communication, episode 11.
So kind of the first thing that I want to touch on is actually a point from the Journal of Family Communication, which it says that families who regularly engage in quality communication have lower levels of depressed, anxious teens, and they just have stronger family bonds. And communication is how you build trust, how you build the foundations for the relationship. And so it's super important to have clear communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even in the Bible, Proverbs 18:21, it says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. And so watching what we say, being clear with what we say is so important.
I think we've all been the recipients of both sides of that.
Yeah.
We've all been hurt, killed, so to speak, by a dream has been killed, a hope, an effort to try and do something has been killed by the power of someone else's tongue, or even our own tongue, our self-talk.
Yeah.
And we've also experienced life-giving words, which is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in communications at university, we learned that 7% of the act of communication, or 7%, is related to the word usage, the verbal part.
Yeah.
93% is nonverbals. Facial features or facial responses, gestures, context, internal emotions, just a whole host of things that create that 93%. And so really, I think what we're saying, Sam, when you say clear communications, if you're kind of a mess internally, a mess emotionally, a mess don't know your identity, don't know what you want, or you're unhappy with your life, your communication is probably going to reflect that.
Well, also in the Bible, out of the overflow of the heart,
Yes.
the mouth speaks.
That's right.
So whatever is going on inside, if you're frustrated, if you're angry, if you're discontent, then those typically are the words that come out of your mouth. That was dumb. Why'd you do that? Don't be an idiot. Like, things that are just automatic responses are typically maybe sometimes the things that are going on internally.
Right.
And so it's super important to be watching what we're consuming, watching what we're putting into our hearts,
Absolutely.
and into our minds.
Absolutely. What goes before your eyes is the way you're going to go. Mm-hmm. And so, like you said in a couple episodes ago on resetting normal, if you or I or anyone spends time in the Bible every day, guess what's happening to that mess that's going on inside?
Yeah.
It's getting cleaned up, cleared up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And so as you communicate, being aware of the gestures, being aware of what you're saying, and making sure that's clear is so important. And Dad, you had a illustration.
Yeah.
The power of words. You had an illustration of about a water illustration.
Yeah. It was Amarasu Emoto.
Yes.
He did he was kind of like not really a scientist. I think he was a businessman. But what he did was an experiment with water, consciousness, and intent. Mm. And so what he did is he took water and he exposed the water to words. Mm-hmm. And then he froze the water. And then he looked at it under a microscope. Now, interesting, you can also Google that, and you can find out about his experiment. Marisu Emoto, water, consciousness, and intent. You can also Google that the phrase "water has memory," and those two are intricately tied, right?
Yeah.
And you find about a bunch of cool things about that. But what he found was when he exposed water to negative words, hateful words, I hate you, you're ugly, you're stupid, and then he froze the water and he looked at it under the microscope, what do you think he saw?
Ugly
Formations, ugly crystals, ugly, deformed type things. Then when he put positive words or spoke positive words to the water, I love you, you're kind, you're beautiful, you're life-giving. And he froze the water, and then he looked at it under a microscope. What do you think he saw?
Beautiful, intricate
designs, beautifully created. Right. So words.
Very interesting. And something that I'm going to go a little off here, but I think that it's important to note is because I feel like a lot of us, we don't typically just be like, you're dumb, you're stupid, but here's where it gets interesting is sarcasm. is even some of these things said sarcastically. And I think that sarcasm has been a very detrimental exception into society.
Yeah, and I think that it doesn't have zero place in society.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very sarcastic, and I think it's kind of funny sometimes. But
well, Jesus was sarcastic with the religious leaders. He said, "You brood of vipers.
Yeah.
You wash the outside of the cup, and the inside's dirty." I mean, he used a form of sarcasm to communicate what he was trying to tell them about their self-righteousness.
Yeah,
but. And, there are sarcastic articles which really drive home a point.
Yeah, right.
But you're right. Too often we're using sarcasm as a means to slice and dice the other person hidden under the veil of humor.
Well, and it can just be a way to mess up, make communication messy.
Yeah.
So.
Not being clear.
Yes. Yep. And so, okay, we kind of wrap that up. Let's move on to more of the other side of communication, which is just as important, is active listening.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, that's the first thing they teach in my communication was at Bethel is that the active communication is a two-way street. Mm-hmm. It's sending a message with the words and with the voice and intonation and facial gestures and all those things. And then it's receiving back from other people. It's listening. So it's speaking and listening. And listening has skills too that we talked about in our last episode. Eye contact.
Yep.
Presence, being present not only physically, but being present with your mind. Like, a lot of times we can just kind of wander. I've done that. We've all had experiences like that. So listening is very important.
And in James 1:19, it says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And so in communication, step one is maybe we got to listen. We got to listen so that we can clearly receive the message.
Well, what does it happen when somebody's listening? When somebody's listening to you, if I'm sitting, listening is a posture. Mm-hmm. Listening is an attitude. Listening is, I want to hear what you have to say. Mm-hmm. And so when you're doing this with your family members, your spouse or your kids, particularly kids, what are you communicating? You're communicating safety and security because I'm here. I'm with you. I want to respond to your needs. So you're building that safety. You're building that trust. You're building a bond.
Well, and which makes communicating even easier when you have that trust and that bond with the child.
Okay, that's a great point. You're sitting here, we're looking at phones, we're doing 3 or 4 different things. We're listening to music, the TV's on, our computer's up, we're doing homework, and we're on the phone scrolling to our friends, and we're talking back and forth with our parents. How much attention, episode 10, how much of our attention are we giving? How much is that really aiding the power of building that clean house, so to speak, not the walls, in our community? It's not doing anything.
Yep.
So being an active listener, very important.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of wrap this up as well, this is just a one-off thought that I just had is the whole kingdom of God is backwards.
Yeah.
Right? They thought he was going to come as a king, but he came in a manger.
Yep.
It's kind of all backwards. He died so that we could live. And in communication, we think that it's talk, so that I can communicate. But what's the opposite? Is listening.
Listen.
Listen twice, talk once. Whatever. Measure twice.
The measure twice, cut once. Yeah. I like the one that we watch Ben and Aaron Napier, and he has on the outside of his construction building where he does his sawing and everything. He says, measure once, cuss twice.
That's not very good communication. He's
the son of a Methodist pastor, I think. I really like that show on them.
But yeah, that's kind of the couple points that we wanted to make, and I think something to just add into your daily life is when communicating. Every conversation with a family member, a spouse, is to just ask Lord what I need to say. Yeah. Lord, what are they trying to say? Lord, help me listen better. I think those are things that we just kind of grow numb to. Like, yeah, the Lord's in it. Yeah, the Lord's in it. No, invite him into it. Invite him into every conversation, every interaction that you have, so that you can communicate clearly. You can be quick to listen, slow to speak.
I think when we're talking about communication, Sam, we brought this up in our own private conversations, but it's really the disciplined life. I mean, communication is one example of where the disciplined life really shows.
Yeah.
Particularly in listening, but certainly in talking as well. Just disciplining ourselves to be, I'm with you, I'm listening, I'm looking in your eyes, I want to hear what you want to say. When you get done saying something, I'm going to repeat back to you what I thought you said so that we can make sure we're not getting too far apart in how we're sending and receiving messages. And that disciplined life, and that's not a popular thing to focus on. Maybe, I mean, physical discipline, getting strong and getting good looking and getting healthy. But when we talk about relationships, those same principles apply of lifting the weights of discipline, of listening and blocking out those thoughts. And like, what's that verse you just said? To be quick to listen,
slow to speak.
That's a discipline. Slow to speak, that's another discipline. And slow to become angry, that's woofda.
Yeah. Yep, that's a toughie.
Yeah. Well, we want to take a brief moment to thank our sponsor, Snyder Studios, today. That's that guy right there. He is responsible for offering up his original music for our background, as well as the funds needed to put on this episode for you. So thank you, Sam, at Snyder Studios. If you are a singer-songwriter, you can call Sam, and he will help put together a knockout song. If you are a business owner and you need a jingle, well, Sam and Snyder Studios can do that as well. Mixing and mastering, he's a master at mixing and mastering. You can call him for that as well. And thank you, Sam, for all you do.
Of course.
So to wrap up today, our talk, healthy communications builds strong families, a safe environment for kids. And we're just always working at becoming better and better at communication. So what's the challenge? The challenge is to have a meaningful conversation with each of your family members every day. It doesn't have to be long, but practice good, clean communications, good listening, and try and connect every day. Family check-ins. Hey, how you doing, hon? Mm-hmm. Or, son, how'd it go today at school? And look them in the eye and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, next week, we are going to be diving into authenticity.
Ooh, that's a big topic.
Yeah, we're still working on that one. Still rotating that one around. Probably will for another
30 years.
Yeah. So we're going to be jumping into that. We're excited about that. And we just want to take a moment to say thank you for listening. Thank you for investing in families and supporting our mission to continue to invest in families with all that we do. from blogs to sermons to music to books to all of that stuff. So we just want to thank you so much. Check out all of our social medias at the Snyder Family Podcast. Check out our website. You can connect with us. You can see all that other stuff that I mentioned. And so
it's either the SnyderFamilyPodcast.com or SnyderFamilyPodcast.org. Either one, right?
Yeah. Yes.
We'll get you to navigate there.
Yes. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.